Hi, my name is Jenelle Riley. I'm an editor at Variety, and welcome to this SAG-AFTRA Foundation Conversation at Home. Today's guest is a Critics' Choice Award nominee for The Good Place and a SAG Award nominee for her work in the Barry Ensemble. Please welcome Darcy Carden. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Jenelle.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, you're in all of my favorite shows, both of which I'm missing very much right now.
Well, I'm missing them too. Yeah, I'm missing all of it. I'm missing them being on TV. I'm missing being with those actors. I am, as we all are, feeling a little lonely for our friends and coworkers right now.
I'm still coming to terms with the fact that we don't have more Good Place episodes coming. That must have been such a bittersweet goodbye.
Yeah, that's like the perfect description of it. It was, I know, I can't believe there's not more. We would be shooting, the last 4 summers for me have been shooting The Good Place. My dog just entered the chat, everybody. Hello, Penny.
Oh, that's a boy or girl?
She's a girl, and she's already plopped down under the desk. Yes, so this is usually the time when we would be shooting. So the last 4 summers for me have been very much The Good Place, and from April to August we shoot, and so right now I'm feeling very nostalgic for that. Yeah, it was bittersweet. I would say bitter at first. When we first heard that it was the last season, I was I was sad, I was bummed, I was hoping they would change their mind. And then when Mike Schur, the creator, explained what season 4 was going to look like and what the finale was going to look like, it really made sense and it really clicked, and I was on board with it ending in our own way, on our own terms. In fact, I was like, oh, of course, yes, I agree, you're right, like always.
It's kind of nice to know that you have that endpoint and to be able to go out on top in such a perfect way.
Everything about that show, honestly, was it just. It was so, I know how rare that is in every way. I know how rare, I always think of this show as like every bit of it was perfect for me. It was this perfect role that I loved playing with this perfect ensemble. I loved the writers. I loved Mike Schur. I loved the crew. It was a good day at work every single day. And then not only that, I loved the show. I'm a fan of the show. I loved watching it. I'm proud to be a part of that show. I'm proud of what we were all about. And then to get to end it on our own terms, in our own way, it's like spoiled, very spoiled, That's a situation that's a little too good to be true. And I have to remember that not all shows will be like that.
I actually love the show so much I jumped ahead. I always open by asking, how did you get your SAG card? Because this is purely an audience of SAG actors who watch these.
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, so I got my SAG card through AFTRA. So when I lived in New York, when I first lived in New York, one of the ways that one of the million jobs I had, whether it was babysitting, waitressing, whatever, I did some background work early on in my New York life. I was a background artiste on SNL.
No way.
Yes. And in what years would these be? This would be like the Maya, like Amy Poehler years, pre-Andy, pre-Bill, if that makes sense. This was a while ago. And so I just did a few episodes. This is actually hilarious timing. I did a few episodes of that and then, moved on. But the other day I got a text from Maya Rudolph saying, why didn't you ever tell me that you were on the show? And I was like, what are you talking about? And she said they were watching some episode or something, and her daughter, one of her daughters, was like, wait, is that Darcy? It was an episode that Maya was in, and in the background, one of her daughters spotted me. It was hilarious. It was a very weird full circle moment. Anyway, you do something like that and you almost forget about it. You move, it's also so long ago. And now having worked with Maya for 4 years, I don't know if it even ever popped into my head. I don't know. I would have told her if I thought of it. It just, it's like another lifetime ago.
That is so cool.
I know. Oh, it was sweet and funny, and also sort of because, Maya and I have gotten to be so close at this point. It was like this cool little alternate life, we were feeling kind of, spooky? I don't know. It wasn't spooky, but it was like, woo, sliding doors. Yeah.
I just read this today about you. Did you go to Southern Oregon State?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay, I'm from Oregon. I see so close to going there. Speaking of sliding doors, we could have been roommates.
Totally, we would have been roommates. And where were you from in Oregon, or where are you from in Oregon?
Salem.
Salem.
Yeah, I went to University of Oregon instead.
Yeah, I grew up in the Bay Area, and I was in drama, I was in theater, and we would take a trip, like it's a 5-hour drive or something. So the drama class would take this bus up to Ashland, Oregon, and see, probably in 2 or 3 days, we would see like 5 or 6 plays. We would see, it would just, because they have, of course, the Oregon Shakespeare Festival there. And I just fell in love with that town. And I was such a theater nerd. And I just was like dead set on, I had to go there and be surrounded by Shakespeare. And I did.
Have you gotten to do Shakespeare?
In college I did a ton. I mean, that was sort of was it our focus? I mean, it was really a Shakespeare-y town. This is, for anyone watching that doesn't know, Ashland, Oregon has a big Shakespeare festival. I want to say like one of the biggest ones in the country. It's great. It's well respected, and it's just a beautiful little Shakespearean town. It's so weird. It's such a weird little place. It's like I've never been anywhere like it. And so our focus was Shakespeare. So yes, I did a ton of Shakespeare in college. Have I done Shakespeare since college? Have I? No, I don't think so. Even my time in New York, did we? I mean, no. Yeah. But I miss it and would love to. So maybe I'll try to worm my way into some Shakespearean production of some sort.
It's been years since I've been there, because it is this tiny little town sort of tucked away in the middle of nowhere. But then, like, the facades of the buildings are made to look like it's olden times. And
yes.
Yeah.
It's such a weird little place. I mean, it's so great, but I truly have never been it's like a make-believe town.
Exactly. Out of a village.
Yes.
Like Beauty and the Beast village.
Yes.
And did they have the public water fountains that were actually sparkling water when you were
Good memory. Yeah. And it was like a trick, because it was so they had these in this beautiful, I don't remember the name of the park, but this beautiful huge park, and they had these old-timey water fountains, and it was like natural bubbly spring water something, which sounds lovely, but in fact it tasted like rotten eggs or something like that. It smelled weird. So it was a big trick. It was a big prank to get somebody to try to drink it, and like if your family was coming to visit, you'd be like, oh, try the beautiful Ashland water, and then they get like bubbly egg water.
Love that.
That's like a theater kids version of a prank.
Yeah.
in a school with no like fraternities or sororities, and it was all like, nerdy Shakespeare kids. We were like, ha ha, try the water.
Huzzah.
Exactly.
So I want to start at the beginning with The Good Place, where you play, I guess she's called a knowledge bank, Janet.
Yes.
And then you got to go on to play several versions of Janet. It's such a smart, unique show. I'm sort of curious how it came to you and what you first thought when you heard the concept.
Yeah, it is such a unique show. It's such a funny sort of situation, the origin situation, because, a normal show, a normal audition, you would get your script, you would get, your sides, a couple of scenes, a couple of pages, and I would say like, most of the time you would get the entire script, the entire pilot or whatever. But this was sort of like shrouded in secrecy. There was no information about the show other than it was a Mike Schur show, which was already, from being such a huge Parks and Rec fan and just a Mike Schur comedy fan in general, that was already exciting. Knowing that Kristen Bell and Ted Danson were going to be a part of it was exciting. but then this you didn't get the script. You just got a couple pages of like weird, a funny little scene. And there was no information about this character other than I think it said she was like a helpful woman, I don't even know if it said woman, because actually women and men auditioned for this role, because there was a teenage boy who auditioned for it before me. Yes. Isn't that funny? There was an older woman who auditioned after me and a young boy who auditioned before me. Anyway, so there wasn't a lot of information about this character. And so you just had to kind of like go with your gut. And then, you know, a few auditions in, a callback here, a callback there, a test here. I'm saying I finally got it. Like, that was the biggest deal that had ever happened to me in my entire life. It was no small thing. But I didn't learn anything about the show or Janet until after I got the show.
Wow.
I know. It was so unique. It was so strange. And no, you know, any of the other actors other than Ted and Kristen, who, you know, are Hollywood royalty and they get to know things before they sign on. But for Manny and Will and Jamila and I, we didn't know. And Mark Evan Jackson, nobody really, it was so secretive. Mike was, he really didn't want the twist or there were so many twists throughout that first season and then not throughout the show, but that first season, he really, really didn't want that twist to get out, and it worked. But yeah, it was a funny thing to happily sign on to do this role and then not find out what it was until afterwards.
So you didn't even know that she wasn't a person, so to speak? Wow.
Right. And I, you know, looking back, I totally get that. I think if they had said she's an AI or she's sort of a robot or whatever, I can just imagine all the people auditioning, including myself, would have been, you know, I am Janet or whatever. And I know that's not what they wanted. And then it was a funny thing once I got the part, learning that she was an AI, you know, half woman, half computer, however you want to think of it. You know, I kind of panicked and talked to Mike about, well, now how do I play her? If I, you know, now I know all this information, I have to change it. You know, I have to like use that information to like, to influence the character. And he was like, no, just do what you did in the audition was it. And which was, you know, there was some freedom there to kind of know like, okay, I already have whatever my instinct was with this character is what they wanted. So let's just go with that and figure her out as we go.
I don't know if you can remember going all the way back to that audition process, but how much do you think the Janet you did in the auditions resembles the end product Janet we saw?
You know, it's funny, like because Janet evolved so much, there's like two answers for that, really. I mean, I think the audition Janet into like season 1 Janet was very similar. In fact, I have never watched that audition, but I'm sure it's like, you know, almost the exact same thing. But then because Janet evolves so much by season 4, it's, you know, she's a different thing. But well, there goes my dog barking. She's now downstairs.
She agrees with you.
Yes,
with
yeah. So back to the question of you know, how similar was Janet? I think it's a weird thing to I don't know, like find out so much information about a character. And I always kind of, I especially season 1, I talked to Mike Schur a ton about her. And I think I didn't exactly know what she was. And I think he didn't exactly know what she was. But there was like, he's so wonderful. And I'm sure if you've heard anything about Mike Schur, you've heard that he's wonderful and that he's a genius and that he's super collaborative and that he hires people that he trusts. So he gives you a lot of power. And so I would sort of panic and I would find him, you know, at lunch, or I would call him and I would just be like, okay, but what about this? And I was sort of a cuckoo that first season. And he was like, just trust yourself. He really gave me a lot of the power, just being like, what you were doing, just trust your gut. And that influenced, you know, the whole show for me. It was like, I kept going back to that, to just know, to him sort of saying to trust my gut. It was all I could trust. It was like that was everything. It was like my North Star, whatever, was like, how does this feel right? And those writers just got her. They got me, they got her, they got it. I love those writers. I owe them everything.
Do you think they started writing towards your strengths, like as the show went on?
I do think that those writers did that in general. Yeah. With everybody, with all the cast, for sure, which was exciting. And that's kind of why I feel like I've said this to each of them, like, I will never be able to repay you. I will thank you for the rest of my life with, this character that I love so much, but then also giving me all these weird little gifts, like getting to play Bad Janet or getting to play Disco Janet. But then also, like, there's an episode in season 3 where I get to play all of the cast through Janet, which is, if you haven't watched it, makes no sense. But it was like I really felt so grateful to the writers. Like I said, I feel like I'll never be able to sort of thank them enough. Every time I've had like one glass of wine when I'm with them, I like take them into the corner and I'm like, guys, I love you. Thank you.
You also have this amazing cast. It's such a fantastic ensemble. And I believe this is your first series regular.
That's right.
So what is it like to jump in and like your primary scene partner is Ted Danson?
It is a dream. It is the luckiest thing that's ever happened to me ever. But also it quickly becomes normal because Ted is so down to earth and wonderful. Like really quickly, at first you're kind of like, that's Ted Danson, that's Ted Danson, that's Ted Danson. Don't screw up. And then within, honestly, days or weeks, it was like, I would forget. I always think like I would forget it was Ted Danson until someone new was meeting him and they would act weird. And I would be like, why are they? Oh, right. This is living legend, Ted Danson. So he is such a wonderful person. And like I said, so down to earth, but also such an incredible scene partner. Like I really can't put into words what a good scene partner is. He's so giving and so present and so, any of the cast would say he's the best scene partner they've ever worked with. He just is. He's a pro beyond pro. And also he loves it. He loves acting. He loves ensemble work. He loves, he loves to play. You can't give him anything that he isn't ready for, He's just, I miss him. I wish I could work with him forever. I love that man. And I love getting to act with him. So like I said earlier, like every bit of this was a dream come true, is a dream come true. I still have this weird feeling like I'm going to wake up and none of that happened. It was so lucky. And so, I don't know. I feel like I just like floated through those 4 years being like, is this happening? It was great.
I'm curious talking about the audition process because you've done a lot of guest spots and other things before The Good Place. Do you consider yourself good at auditioning?
Oh, that's such a good question. Yes and no. Maybe more no. But the longer I do this, the older I got, the more I sort of took auditioning back, if that makes sense. Like I feel like for maybe 10 years, I was like we all are, scared and what do they want from me and how do I be perfect for what they want? And then I sort of realized like, all I have is myself. All I can give them is what I have, I don't know, in here, wherever. And I sort of came to terms with like, if they don't want that, it doesn't have any bearing on me. It's not like I had like a little wake up where I was like, I will give them whatever little gift I can give them. And if they don't want that right now, somebody else will. And I had like a few rules where I was like, you do the audition and you walk out and you never think about it again, if possible. and some auditions than others because you want certain things more than others. But as much as you can just go in there, I don't know how to explain, like, give them your gift. I don't mean like your gift from God. I mean like literally, like, think of yourself as like a little wrapped up gift and you're giving it to them, and then you leave and they unwrap it and it's out of your hands, you know? And sort of just trusting that you have something special that is only you, and to lean into the you of it all. I mean, whatever. I don't know if this even makes sense. I started thinking of auditioning in like a different way, that it's more about giving myself power instead of feeling helpless and powerless, because auditions are a beast and they are strange, and you know, they make no sense, and it's a weird situation for everybody. You know, I've been on both sides of it, and I have friends that are writers and directors that are constantly like, oh, this is weird for us. You know, it's a weird situation, and sometimes you just want to break through it. This is weird, right? You feel weird, I feel weird. Let's just call it out. This is weird. But anyway, yeah, I think as much as you can sort of take the power back and know that you are going to give them something special that they either need in that moment or they don't, and then move on to the next.
Did you have any of those like nightmare audition scenarios that you see so many actors going through?
You know, a little bit, but I really think I like black them out. When I'm done, I'm like, poof. I mean, I remember early on, I'm trying to think, like, I know I had to do an audition that I thought was the next day. And this is like early on New York days. A friend from out of town came to visit. We had like, you know, had a night, a New York night. And I woke up the next day and realized the audition was that day instead of the next day, and just like ran downtown, you know, like walked in sweating. It was like some weird, I had to like be sexy, and a sexy audition is like, oh God, the worst. And I remember walking in like dripping sweat, and I wanted to just be like, I'm going to go. I know this isn't good. Like as soon as I walked in, I knew it was a mistake. And then I also remember like an audition where the audition guy, the auditor, the man, the person who was casting this commercial was making all the women uncomfortable, calling everybody honey and baby. And I think I tried to jokingly call him out, and it didn't go well. I asked if I was auditioning with another woman, and he called her baby. And I said like, oh, I didn't realize you guys are married. And she, you know, kind of covered her mouth, and I could tell he was like, you're dead to me. But I don't know. Anyway, yeah, there's auditions in general are horror stories. I don't think I have anything too bad. Like I never like, you know, barfed or anything, but in general, it's a bit of a horror story, a horror show, you know?
Well, I was thinking with your role on Barry, which is another amazing ensemble. It's crazy.
Incredible.
You get to play an acting student. You kind of get to revisit those early days.
I do.
I love that, you know, they did a showcase.
Yeah.
Some memories.
It totally did. I mean, and you know, for the acting class, I think there's 6 or 7 of us. We've gotten really close. I mean, you know, we've also, I know there's only 2 seasons out, but we've been doing this show for like 4 years. And we have talked so much about like early acting days and you know, horror stories and experiences and plays and acting classes and acting teachers, and those are not that far off. We always say like the acting class, we're like, these are versions of ourselves, and they're all pathetic and they're losers, and you know, none of them are cool at all, but they're also us. So you know, that's a great group of people. And of course, you know, I'm not saying that any of them are losers. I'm saying that we all have this sort of desperate actor in us that we're really able to tap into. And that is really fun, especially with Henry, Mr. Winkler himself, and Bill Hader and Alec Berg really give us a lot of freedom. They really, oh my gosh, they have so much. I mean, there's so much on the cutting room floor of that show, of the acting class, because they just let us improvise. For the scenes are 3 times as long. They just like let us go until you can hear Bill laughing in the background, and then we like have to cut because the scenes are on. But that's a really, really fun show. And yes, definitely tapping into like my desperate actor brain is like a fun little exercise.
I think I was a little hesitant when Barry first came out because I was like, oh, it's an acting class. It's going to be making fun of actors. And it's so accurate.
Yes.
Which is funny considering that the overall premise is this hitman. So you think, that shouldn't feel so realistic.
I know. I know. It's such a great concept. I really love that show, and I can't, it's with all this talk that it was saying that everything is so dreamy. It's like getting to do these 2 shows that I am a fan of. I would be watching every week. It's been, I had a long time of these horrible auditions. Like I didn't just like walk off. This is not new. I've been doing this, for so many years, and it's a struggle, as everybody watching this knows. Like this is a hard career path that we've chosen. And there's a lot. I was texting with a friend today, a successful actor, and she was, panicking about an audition. And we were like, this is such a weird job that we've chosen. No matter how successful you are or you feel, it's still constantly ups and downs and yeses and nos. And I don't know if that ever goes away. So to get like little pockets of good, little pockets of I'm proud of this thing, or I'm happy that I got to do this, and that however big or small that is, I've certainly felt that way also when I was doing theater for free in New York, at Upright Citizens Brigade or wherever, where it's, it's not about, I don't know, it's not about it's not necessarily about like big, huge awards or big, huge movies or anything. It can be little things, but we have to like sort of find our pockets of happiness and pride and remind ourselves why we're doing this,
And though I'm still in mourning for The Good Place, usually I talk to people about what's up next. But
yeah.
Since the show, although I'm not some sort of like a reunion movie.
Yeah, same here.
But what was your favorite experience on this show? Like a favorite scene, or just, a day where, gosh, I would just think it would be fun to be on that set and, try all those yogurt flavors.
I know. But can I tell you a secret? The yogurt flavors are actually mashed potatoes.
What? Wait, that's even better.
I know. Actually, it is, right? Although sometimes it's like pink or purple mashed potatoes. I guess frozen yogurt would just melt too quickly.
Makes sense.
And so they would whip up some mashed potatoes. I would say there's a couple of scenes when it was just Ted and me, Ted and I, when it was just me, when it was just Ted and me, were really special because of Ted, but also because of Janet and Michael. There's like some great those scenes always felt really special. And, whether they were funny or emotional or whatever, I loved when I knew that there was a Ted and Darcy scene coming up, I would be very happy. And then those were always a really sort of extra good day. But when it was the 6 of us, which wasn't as often as you might think, those were just like magical and goofy, and everybody would be really excited. And I think, the producer would sort of like give us a little more time to do those scenes than we would normally get, because he knew that it was going to be, a lot of goofing around and a lot of, we're all professional, but also like we got giddy when it was the 6 of us. And then I'm thinking of like one night shoot. We didn't do a lot of night shoots. So when we did, it was kind of exciting. And there was one in season 4 where it was the 6 of us plus Brandon Scott Jones, Kirby Howell Baptiste, and Ben Koldyke, who played they were like the new people in season 4. If you haven't watched this show, it makes no sense. But so it was 6, 7, 8, 9 of us. and we were playing Pictionary. It's like a quick little scene at the beginning of one of the episodes. And it was so fun. It was so joyous and fun and silly. And it was like a warm, beautiful LA night. And we were like, you know, we were playing the game in the scene. So we were like, they were really letting us sort of play. Anyway, long story short, I was so aware of how great it was. It was sort of like an out of body experience. Not to mention Brandon Scott Jones and Kirby Howell Baptiste are like great old friends of mine from Upright Citizens Brigade days. So it was even more sort of surreal to be on this beautiful set with these amazing actors, you know, doing this show that we love. And I look over and see Brandon Scott Jones, who's one of my best friends for 10 years. And he gets to be in this scene with, it just was like, I just was, you know, I felt like grateful. Like, I cannot believe that I get to do this. So there were scenes like that, or the Redwoods from the finale, going to the Redwoods and shooting that day was like, I will never forget that day. That was really special, really, really beautiful and special. And you know, we wrapped Ted that day, we wrapped Manny that day. It was like emotional and beautiful and special.
Oh, wow.
Oh gosh.
Before we go, I want to remind everyone they can find information about SAG-AFTRA Foundation COVID-19 Relief Fund in the comments. And I'm just sort of asking everyone.
I don't know, comments in the comments.
Here. I'm just sort of asking everyone during this, you know, sort of strange quarantine time, how have you been staying creative? Are there things you've been watching or reading or maybe even creating yourself?
You know, what's funny is that's a great question. It's been hard for me. I know some people are like writing and some people are, I'm having a hard time even, you know, we kind of talked about it for a second, but I have like I am a part of the Upright Citizens Brigade. So this comedy troupe, this comedy theater and I've been with them for over 10 years. And we've been doing some like Zoom improv shows, and it's been hard. It's been hard to try to be funny and creative, and I'm, you know, jealous of anyone that's sort of like feeling super creative right now. I'm feeling very like stunted. It's weirdly coming out in other ways, like through cooking and through gardening. I'm an old lady. I you know, that's sort of the thing that is like bringing me sort of creative joy right now is literally like trying new recipes and planting things. Is that at all what you meant? You probably wanted like I wrote a play and I filmed a one-woman show that, no, I've had a hard time. Yeah.
Well, I always tell people, because people love to trot out the old, you know, Shakespeare wrote King Lear in quarantine. And I'm like,
yeah,
you don't have to write King Lear. You just have to get by.
I think that's it. Finding your things, whatever that is. Yeah. And early on, I know this is not, you know, unique. A lot of people sort of, but I mean, I don't think I ever cooked meat before in my life. Like I'm not a chef. I'm not. And now I call myself a cooker. I'm now a cooker and I really cook a lot of things. And it's been really fun to just sort of weirdly sort of channel my creativity through, you know, a soup. I
just made my first soup. It wasn't very good, but
well, try again. That's the other thing is like, it's okay. It's okay. And I'm an experienced cooker now, so I can tell you that. It's okay. Try it again. Learn.
I literally just tweeted that I spent like 3 hours last night making tacos from scratch and chopped up all the onions and tomatoes on my own and put it all together, and Taco Bell would have been better.
Right. I know that's the hard part is when you spend so long making something and it's not that good, and or you spend so long making something and you eat it in 15 minutes and it's gone.
Yeah.
That's the other kind of hard part is like, you know, you could spend hours making something and then you eat it so quickly and that's it. You look around and there's nothing to be seen but dirty dishes. But anyway, it's been, you know, banana bread, soups, chicken dishes. It's been a nice way to sort of channel some creativity.
Yeah, it's fun. The journey getting there is fun, even if the end product isn't the best.
Yeah. But oh my God, I can't wait to get back on the set, you know?
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Were you guys already shooting Barry, or were you about to?
You know, we were about to. We had our first table read the week before sort of lockdown. And even, it's so weird to think about that. Um, Sarah Goldberg and Jesse Hodges and Henry Winkler and I went out to lunch after that read through. I can't even imagine going to a lunch anymore. Like we just, we just went to a restaurant. We touched the silverware. We all rode in Henry's car. It's like a different world, and then just a couple days later, they canceled the second read through. And then, and we were supposed to start filming in April. And obviously didn't, and we will at some point, but I long for those days when they happen again. I know everybody will really not take them for granted.
I do hope you guys get back to work soon, safely, but I do want you guys to get back because I'm dying for the next season. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Congratulations on all the success.
Thanks, Jenelle. I really liked talking to you. It was great.
Oh, thank you.